All right, so we are here with Sarah Sakalaukas from Sakalaukas Interior Design. Thank you so much for being here today, and she is here to share her career journey and talk about the world of interior design and how she got started to help you students learn more about this industry, and this might be something that you're interested in doing for the future. So thank you so much, Sarah, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I love your office. You've got some like beautiful things back there.
Oh, thank you. Some fun stuff, some kid stuff, you know.
Just what I would imagine an interior designer's office to look like.
And next time we meet, it'll probably change.
Exactly. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions. I might have a couple that'll spark something else, but so yeah, whatever you want to share, feel free. So could you begin with a personal introduction, just kind of about your job title, where you work, and why you chose your career?
Sure. So my name is Sarah Sakalaukas, and I am the sole proprietor of Sakalaukas Interior Designs. And I kind of fell into this when I moved to Tri-Cities. There aren't a lot of large design firms here or anything like that. So I thought it would be amazing to open my own business. My parents were small business owners, so it kind of came naturally to me.
Awesome. Very cool. So could you kind of share about the path that you had taken to get to your career to where you are today? Would you say it's a traditional path to interior design, or would you say it's non-traditional?
So I would say that I took a traditional path in the sense that I went to an art school and obtained a Bachelor of Science in Interior Design. That said, there are so many non-traditional ways to get where I am today. About half of the 50 states, you are required to have a bachelor's degree of some sort to be in this industry. Washington is in the other half, in which that is not the case. You don't have to have a bachelor's degree. So while I would consider it traditional, I know a lot of designers that have gone non-traditional.
Okay. Which school did you attend?
I went to Art Institute of Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Was there anyone in your life that inspired you to take this career path?
Not necessarily, no. I kind of went through all the steps of, oh, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I've always loved history, and I've always loved houses. And when I was a kid, I loved to rearrange my room and, you know, my parents' living room as much as they didn't love it. So it just kind of, you know, when I thought to myself, what do I want to be when I grow up? This is what I came up with. So my inspirations kind of came after I chose this career path.
Okay. I'm just taking notes here too, so I can refer to this stuff. So you talked about going to art school and that there are requirements in about half the state. Could you talk about like what other specific training someone would need for this job, or when you were in art school, what were the types of classes that you took?
So as far as art school, it's a full on 4-year degree. So I had to take all the sciences, all the maths, you know, all the standard things, you know, for the first year and a half. And then it kind of got into a lot of art history, a lot of architecture. You know, interior design wasn't always a career path that someone could choose until about 100 years ago. It was all part of architecture. So they were kind of one and the same. So a lot of it is history, and then kind of going into all those specifics of what an interior designer has to do. So it was nice to take those classes to, you know, learn more about sourcing, and, you know, it's not all just, oh, this is a pretty pillow and I'm going to put it on the couch, you know.
Right. Were there any other like certifications on top of your degree that have been helpful for you for your business that you've needed, or more professional development, I guess?
Sure. So industry standard is that we take about 10 hours of continuing education courses per year.
Okay.
So, and we get to choose, what we want to do that in. So, I think this year so far I've done like a lighting course, a carpet course, a business administration course, and things like that. So for the state of Washington, it's not required that we report those to the state. Other states, you do have to report them for your licensure. Nevertheless, the industry changes so much that it's a good thing to do, kind of keep up what's going on in the industry.
Right. That makes sense. Could you tell us what your first job was like? Maybe your first interior design job, and what was something that you learned during that first job?
Oh my gosh, I learned so much. My first job was completely amazing. I worked for a custom home builder in Alabama, and it was a husband and wife team, and I worked under her as a design assistant, and it was so fun. Like I said, I love architecture and the history and things like that. So being able to choose like brick colors and paint colors and materials, hard surface materials, I suppose you could say, was just a dream for me. That was so much fun.
That is really cool. It definitely like inspired you to keep going and go further down the path. That's really cool.
Definitely.
Did your job involve any traveling nationally or internationally?
So my job doesn't, but a lot of designers do. I here in Tri-Cities and my business, I try and focus on bringing design to everyone. Just because you don't have $100,000 budget doesn't mean that your house can't be functional and beautiful. So a lot of my clients are DIYers and things like that. So we kind of keep things local. I do have some design colleagues who do travel around the nation and internationally for people who have summer homes and have the budget to pick Italian marble and things like that.
Wow, that's awesome. Was there any like pivotal moment that you've had in your career that maybe you questioned, do I still want to do this? Or you talked about your first job and how exciting that was. Has there been any other big pivotal moment that kind of shifted the direction of your career?
I would say once or twice a year, I have this, thought with myself. And the reason being is because this line of work is not consistent. You'll have people, it kind of fluctuates like this throughout the year. So you'll have a ton of work and then you kind of hold back some because it's wintertime. Everybody wants to stay home. Nobody wants to, hire an interior designer to come in. And then when springtime hits, everybody wants to be outside and they're ready for a refresher in their home and things like that. So then business will pick back up. So rather than say to myself twice a year, do I still want to do this job? I've kind of taught myself, and like I said, taking continuing education classes, learned how to manage my business so that the work is steady rather than kind of keeping it up and down all year long.
Right. Awesome. Did your job require you to be bilingual or multilingual, or would that be important for a student maybe in high school now to think about?
I am not bilingual. I wish that I were. It would make my job so much easier. Absolutely. I wish that I had access to something like this when I was in high school, because, oh goodness, that would have been amazing. Being bilingual in this industry, you will go so far. It's not only a relationship between myself and a client, it's a relationship between installers, salespeople, builders, and not everybody speaks English in this country. So, oh yeah, Spanish. If I had to, I would take Spanish.
Yeah, that's so great to think about, because I was thinking, yeah, being bilingual helps in so many areas and obviously expanding your client pool. And I didn't even think about all the people that you contract with.
Yeah, and not every industry calls the same thing the same term or word. So I was actually had this conversation yesterday. I had a client referring to something outside of his house as a pillar. I call it a post. A builder calls it a column, so even just in the one language, things can be so diverse. So having access to the knowledge of another language would only make things better.
Awesome. Awesome. Excuse our bell here. It'll go off maybe a couple more times. But yeah, that's really cool to know. So just understanding all the different lingo and I gotcha. So this kind of falls into what you were just talking about, but how important are communication skills at your job? So if you could speak to communication skills, and then what other skills do you think are most important for you to have?
Communication skills are huge. One of the biggest pieces of advice that I got from my lead designer in my first job was that 50% of design is being a psychologist. And I was like, no, what are you talking about? That's crazy. My goodness, they were right. Because, and I ask this a lot, how do you feel about your home? I need that my client to articulate those feelings so that I can in turn, have that communication with them about where we are and where we need to go with this design. What don't you like about your house? Oh, okay, I understand that means that we need to accomplish this. And then I need to relay these feelings and these thoughts into actual pieces of furniture and actual paths to maneuver around a room and things like that. So communication is major.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about that. Like your whole job is communication and in all these various forms. So very cool. Were there any other skills that are important for your business or as a business owner?
Logistics and math.
Okay.
I have a freshman in high school and all the time, oh, I'll never need to know this. We sat down the other day and I had to ask her to help me with a geometry problem because I had a table that I had to fit in the corner of a room and I didn't know all the dimensions. So I gave her what I knew and I said, I need you to work out this missing dimension so that I can buy a proper piece of furniture for it. And she was like, oh, so math is huge. And converting fractions into decimals and measurements and things like that. And logistics. Logistics is huge because you're working with, like I said, builders and suppliers and furniture warehouses, and everything has to come in on time. And if one thing, you can't lay tile down before you install a sink.
Right,
and
right.
like that. So it's a lot of calendar building too behind the scenes.
Gotcha. So super organized. I could see.
Oh, yes.
Could you share with us what the best part of your day is at your job, and then maybe what is the toughest part of your day?
Oh, the best part of my day is when I get an email from a customer and they're like, oh, I love this so much. That I've done this job for 10 years. And that still to this day just makes my heart so happy because the service that I offer is very personal, so and you're in someone's home. That's their one place on this planet that they can just be themselves and they're inviting you into it. So that just makes me so happy when I'm able to achieve something for a client. Let's see, the most difficult part is switching from creativity to logistics or, like linear thinking. It's so much fun to pick out colors and fabrics and arrange furniture. But that's only half of my job. The other half of my job is budgeting and calendar manipulation and the numbers and the kind of business aspect to it. It's hard to go from one to the other.
Gotcha. Now, do you have anyone that's helping you, or are you like a single, like just you're the employee, or do you have other employees?
So it's just me. So interior design is changing in the past couple of years in the sense that it used to be this cutthroat industry where, these are my customers and those are your customers, and we can't communicate because we're competitors. Well, now you see groups of designers, whether internationally or regionally, kind of come together and help each other. So I call them my colleagues, but we don't actually work together. We all own our own businesses. Sometimes some of them are really good at sourcing furniture, and I'm really good at drawing, renderings for clients. So sometimes I'll reach out to them for help, or they'll reach out to me for help, but most of the time it's just me.
Yeah, awesome. Let's see here. Here's a couple questions I've gotten from students. So what advice would you have for a high school student who is interested in pursuing interior design?
Research everything you possibly can. Like, whatever part of the industry excites you, there is a niche for that. If you really love picking out paint colors, there are designers out there who only coordinate colors. If you really love drafting and drawing and rendering, there are designers out there who only do that. I wish that had been communicated to me before I went to design school. Not that it would have changed my path, but I guess I want other people to know that there are so many different options in this industry. And to that end, you don't necessarily have to have a bachelor's degree for all of these things. You can get certificates and things like that, which is really interesting.
Awesome. Well, I'm just so amazed that like high schools now, we offer career and technical education classes. So they can actually take interior design in high school now. And I've seen really cool, like in Barb Scully's class, the interior design of them designing like the layouts for all the rooms, and students are just have the opportunity to do so many amazing things now. I always say this, like if I could go back to school again, there are just like so many more options that I would be interested in.
Yeah, and it blows my mind every time I see Barb Scully, she'll say, oh, look at what my students are doing. And oh my goodness, I'm so impressed. That will take them far in life if they decide to continue their path.
Right, awesome. Do you offer any job shadowing opportunities for students?
So not necessarily as like a standard program, because most of my job is in front of the computer and it's very boring for someone to sit and watch. But, from time to time, I would love to take, a student out who is interested to, pick out countertops and things like that. And just, I'm a toucher. I'm like, oh, I want to touch this carpet. What does it feel like? To get your hands on those materials and kind of put them together and coordinate them. That's a lot of fun. And it's a good way for students to learn.
Awesome. So this isn't one of the pre-questions that I gave you, but I was just curious. So like, what are your favorite types of design styles, or what is your like favorite architecture style? So when I think of architecture, I think of like Frank Lloyd Wright, because that's like kind of one of the only ones I know, but I like those really modern kind of buildings. I guess I don't even know if I'm saying the right terminology, but it seems kind of modern to me. I was just curious, like, what are some of your favorite kind of styles or architects or design styles, I guess?
Personally, I like Victorian. I think it's so interesting, and it's so, we've kind of gone through this phase of minimalism in the past decade or so. It's so maximalism. Am I saying that right? Anyway, it's a lot of details.
You say, that's what I go with.
I don't have one particular style that I kind of gravitate towards. A lot of interior designers do that. They say, this is my style, and if you want to come work with me, this is what I'm going to give to you. I love the challenge of, this is your home, this is your style, what can I do for you to elevate that? I think it's a challenge. It's interesting. I did my kind of big senior paper in college on taking old homes and making them livable for today. So it was a lot of incorporating electricity and plugs and things like that where there wasn't any. It's not something we get to do very often here in Tri-Cities, so it's a relatively new place, but that would be my favorite.
That's awesome. Is there any last thoughts you have for students or anything you would like to share?
Oh, I think the big thing was just, what you like about this industry, seek it out. Go find a summer job at Sherwin-Williams if you love paint. Next time you're at, Macy's, go play with the curtains and, hold them up next to a, swatch of paint or something like that. Like, there are ways to educate yourself and have fun in this industry while you're still in high school.
I love that. I love that advice. Thank you so much. And if students would like to learn more about your business, do you have a website?
Yeah, it's kids, think about this before you buy your website. It's sakalaukus.design.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm going to make sure I attach that with this video
Okay.
so that they can go and check it out. And yeah, I mean, I'm just so amazed at the world of interior design. I'm like a HGTV fan. I love that kind of like learning about the world and trends, but I know you're super busy and I really appreciate you squeezing us in and making time today. It's awesome to be able to talk to you. So thank you so much for joining.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, take care, Sarah.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.